Hello, and welcome to another episode of SkyrimPlus. Today I'm featuring the Corwells Retreat, created by Splitbolt and ported to AE and SE by Kaolinite77. Let's check out the map. Here we are at the Corwells Retreat. We're near Northwind Summit, Shores Stone, Riften, and here we are again at our featured home, the Corwells Retreat. When you install the home, a map marker will appear, but you'll need to travel there before it's fast travel ready. And here we are in front of our new home. It's a gorgeous structure with hanging ivy, and when we look up, there's a banner, and further up is a hanging dark elf lantern on a gnome hat-shaped roof. It's unique. To the right of the home, we find a stable. It has several hanging dark elf lanterns, and you even get a horse with this home. Of course, right when I arrived, I was attacked by a dragon, which is why there's a frost mark on that horse's butt, so be careful. You never know when one of those things will be skulking around. That ivy hanging from the lattice sure does look good, and as we approach the front door, you can see the Thieves Guild mark on the door frame. You also have a dark elf lantern and some pre-planted dragon's tongue and nightshade. My alchemist character already wants to use that nightshade to make a damage health poison. Here's a bench to the right of the front door, and then here's a small dining room table and a couple of instruments so you can entertain your guests. You also have a bench right next to this garden that has some death bell, and there's some gardening tools as well. But now that we've seen all of the outdoor features of the home, let's see what the inside has to offer. And here we are inside of the Corwells Retreat. When we enter the main space, you can tell that this is an interesting floor plan. There's another lantern under the stairs, as well as a chest for miscellaneous storage, and you have a key rack. There's the world's largest dresser. I'm sure nothing's up with that. And here's a Shrine of Talos looking very noble. Just make sure you don't invite any high elves over. Now let's go investigate this dresser. And when we open up the doors, we find a hidden closet/armory. Let's take a quick spin around and check it out. To our left, you have some interesting paintings, a ladder, and named storage for boots, gauntlets, gloves, helmets, and heavy armor, as well as a map of Skyrim. And as we turn, we have a couple of mannequins to display some of our favorite armor sets, a few more paintings, and then when we open up this dresser, you have named storage for weapons. Very cool. And when we turn to the right, we find named storage for potions, bandoliers, bolts and arrows, light armor and shields, as well as some cool themed artwork. You even have a painting of Dragon's Reach. Now we'll exit this room and see what the rest of the home has to offer. As we exit the closet and look to our left, we find a bar to entertain your guests, and there are more paintings and another dark elf lantern. Next, we'll head to this space in the back, which is my personal favorite area of the home. You'll find some harvestable ingredients, alchemy-themed artwork, and then check out this epic enchanting space with an arcane enchanter and named storage for soul gems. It actually looks like it would be able to create some of the legendary gear I've made in the past. And then on the other side of the room, you find an alchemy lab, a satchel, and named storage for potions and ingredients. As we exit this space, we find a bookshelf for the Scholars of Skyrim, and it looks like it was inspired by my messy home. And then when we turn to the left, we find a cozy fireplace with a dragon skull mounted above. You also have a chair to sit and enjoy the warmth. You also have a table with a strong box to store your valuables, and then when we enter the next space, we find our kitchen. We have an oven to our right and a cooking pot to our left. Here's some cooking-themed artwork. I haven't seen much of that before. And now we'll go down these stairs and see what's behind this door. When we enter, we find a tunnel lit by more dark elf lanterns. These textures are looking pretty crispy. And then when we go to the bottom, we find a full smithing suite. It's a little spread out, so bear with me as I make our way around. Straight ahead, you have your anvil and your blacksmith forge. There's the water that several of you expect to have by the forge, and on the barrel, we find a Shrine of Arcane. As we make our way past that, we find our grindstone, and then we have some weapons that are static decor. And then as we turn, we find our smelter. I'd say that's the smithing station that's most likely to be forgotten by house mod authors, so it's a real treat that they included it in this one. This cabinet has some armor that acts as static decor. And now we'll go check out the other side of the cabinet. When we round the corner, we find a tanning rack, workbench, and then we have another cabinet that has a few iron ingots and named storage for ingots, leather, and pelts. And now that we've seen everything in this space, we'll head back upstairs. And now we're back in the kitchen again. So from here, we'll head back to the main living area, and then we'll work our way up the stairs. And while we do, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Our community is nearly at 7,000 subscribers now, so thanks for your support. And when we make our way up the stairs, there's a cabinet with our ale, a statue of Nocturnal, and a mess on the floor. And then we find this table with several awesome paintings, jewelry storage, and it has a map of Skyrim. And then as we turn to the right, we find another bookshelf for the scholars of Skyrim, and we might be considered a hoarder since we're keeping all of the spare furniture around. Time to declutter. We need Marie Kondo to come organize this place for us. And then here's a really unique bed, along with a chest and an end table with another Nocturnal statue. What a creative use for this space. Straight ahead, we have another set of stairs. And then underneath the stairs, we find named storage for treasures. Here's another bookshelf, and this desk has named storage for journals, and lots of interesting static decor. And there's a chest right next to the desk to store whatever. And now that we've seen all that this level has to offer, we're gonna head up the stairs and go check out our balcony. And here's our balcony that offers amazing views of the Rift and Eastmarch. Straight ahead is a cabinet with more decor, and here's the hanging lantern we saw at the beginning of the tour, and a better view of our gnome hat-shaped roof. You don't see that very often. As we follow the walkway, we find a chair to enjoy the view, and a table with a book and a potion. And then further down the walkway are some static boxes. And now that we've seen all of the features of this home, it's time for final thoughts. The Corwells Retreat is a gorgeous yet private home on the edge of the Rift. It offers a unique bed for the single player, an oven and cooking pot for your cooking needs, a shrine of arcane, a Shrine of Talos, a full smithing suite, an alchemy lab, and one of my favorite arcane enchanters. They also have a hidden room with named storage galore, as well as a horse stable and horse, and a balcony to enjoy days like these. This concludes my feature of the Corwells Retreat. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified of when I post, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next episode.